I've been in a relationship with Fidel for 5 years. He's emotionally stable, acts with the steadiness of a veteran cadre, and shows fatherly care in daily life. We've never had a fight, not even crossed the boundaries between men and women. My best friend envies me, Martina. These days it's rare to find a man who can maintain his integrity. You must hold on to him tightly. On what seemed like the most ordinary rainy day, our car got rear-ended. I saw with my own eyes how Fidel lost his usual rationality and composure. He ran toward the woman who had rear-ended his car and held an umbrella over her. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. It all happened so suddenly that I numbly followed and got out of the car. Just as I closed the car door, Fidel's urgent scolding voice rang out from a distance, with such heavy rain. Your pant legs are soaked, didn't you think to use an umbrella? I stood there motionless as the rain drenched my hair. This was my first time seeing Fidel lose his temper, and over a strange woman at that. Right now his brows were tightly furrowed, yet his words carried a hint of concern. The woman who rear-ended his car had an oval face with doe-like eyes, letting out a barely audible sob. I'm sorry for hitting your car, I'll pay for the damages. I saw Fidel tilting the umbrella completely toward the woman, even as his own back became thoroughly drenched. Watching this scene, I suddenly felt a suffocating tightness in my chest. As I approached, Fidel finally noticed me. Why did you get out of the car? His umbrella still didn't waver from its position. I forced a stiff smile. I saw you rushing out of the car, so I followed to check. How bad is the rear-end collision? Fidel paused for a moment. It's fine. The car owner and I are old classmates, just came down to take a look. As he spoke, he glanced at the damaged part of the car and said succinctly, the trunk's smashed. I'll call the traffic police to handle it. The rain's too heavy, you all should wait at the nearby convenience store first. Fidel finished speaking and handed me the umbrella, then ran alone toward the convenience store not far away, but I was already drenched by the rain. The woman and I walked to the entrance of the convenience store, gripping the umbrella handle tightly. I looked at her, the suffocating tightness in my chest making me unable to hold back my question. You and Fidel. Before I could finish my question, the woman spoke. My name is Brianna, I was with Fidel, but his family didn't approve. 5 years ago his family forced him to go back for an arranged marriage, so we broke up. The woman went inside, but I remained frozen in place. 5 years ago, fresh out of law school, I was set up on a blind date by my family. Since the other party was an old acquaintance of my parents and also in the legal profession, I couldn't easily refuse and reluctantly went to meet them. During the meal, Fidel's handsome appearance, polished conversation, and considerate care made me, a first-time blind dater, change my perspective. Later, we met a few more times and discovered we shared many niche hobbies in common. Gradually, I found myself falling for him. After we started dating, Fidel was completely devoted to me, taking care of me in daily life and helping me with tricky cases at work. My best friend once teased me, saying, your Fidel treats you like a delicate rose he's nurturing. But now, I can't quite describe what I'm feeling. When I entered, Fidel and Brianna were already seated on chairs in the shop. They sat facing each other. Fidel handed a dry towel to Brianna. The woman took it and smiled. Thanks. Your girlfriend is adorable. You two seem really close. Getting married soon, I suppose. I happened to hear this just as I walked up to them. Fidel glanced at me and nodded naturally. But in truth, he had never proposed to me, nor had we even discussed marriage. Brianna dried her hair without saying another word. Fidel handed me another towel. Martina, dry yourself off, don't catch a cold. The tone remained considerate, yet I could no longer feel its warmth. I don't know how much time had passed, but the traffic police still hadn't arrived. After the rain cleared, a faint rainbow emerged in the sky, dazzling to behold. It's a rainbow. Brianna raised her phone and swiped the screen to take a photo, yet my pupils suddenly constricted. Brianna's phone wallpaper was a picture of a rainbow behind a cliff. It was identical to the wallpaper Fidel had stubbornly refused to change for years. I looked up at the rainbow blooming after the rain, then turned to gaze at Fidel sitting beside me. I let out a long breath through my lips. At this moment, I suddenly didn't want him anymore. Having decided to let go, I resolved to confront Fidel directly. When the traffic police arrived, Fidel immediately walked out upon seeing them. Brianna also quickly followed, leaving me behind again as I took a moment to catch up. The traffic officer looked at the approaching pair. Mr. Fidel, you're the one who called, right? You and your girlfriend weren't injured, were you? Hearing this as I caught up, I turned my gaze toward Fidel. This is actually my girlfriend, Martina, he explained briefly. The traffic officer froze for a moment. My apologies, I mistook you for someone else. I forced a smile. Even strangers thought they looked more like a couple at first glance. After recording both license plate numbers, the officer added, "The vehicle damage has been logged in the system. Will you need our mediation for follow-up procedures?" "No need, we'll go through insurance," Fidel replied quickly. After the traffic police left, both vehicles were towed away by the insurance company for repairs. Meanwhile, Brianna received a phone call and left in a hurry. Fidel hailed a taxi to the law firm. In the car, I had many questions I wanted to ask, but drenched from the rain, I leaned my head against the seat and drifted into a hazy sleep. When I woke up again, we had already arrived at the lawyer's office building. MC Law Firm was Fidel's joint venture with others. I officially joined the year before last, thanks to Fidel, the unbeaten living, already ranked top 1 among the city's gold standard law firms. Clients kept pouring in for consultations. Fidel was swamped every day, constantly pulled away by assistants the moment he arrived. I had no choice but to return to my own office first, after reviewing a few pages of litigation documents. I went to fetch some water. Gossip from colleagues drifted out of the break room. "Isn't that person in the conference room Brianna? I heard her husband was abusive, such an unfortunate match. I heard she and Fidel were once called the twin stars of the Political Science and Law University. What a shame they didn't make it to the end." "Exactly. I was in the class of 16 at Political Science and Law. Back then, I shipped her with the team captain." During the debate competition, he held up the trophy and publicly confessed to her with that line, "Winning doesn't matter. You're my MVP." It shook the entire law department. I instinctively looked at the person sitting in the conference room. It was Brianna, whom I had just seen this morning. I had never heard Fidel mention these past events before, nor did I know he had such earth-shattering, youthful recklessness in his history, compared to the lukewarm calm of our interactions. It seemed far too dazzling. I still remember during the blind date, Fidel spoke in a flat, matter-of-fact tone. "My name is Fidel, I'm 28 years old, an only child, working as a lawyer, and I've only been in one relationship." Faced with his straightforwardness, I also voiced my true thoughts. "Emotionally, I have a cleanliness complex. I dislike lingering attachments, so I value loyalty and trust." Fidel agreed wholeheartedly at the time, which is why we quickly progressed into a relationship. But now that I've heard about their unforgettable past, I realize how impossible it is to sever all traces completely. As I looked at the people in the meeting room, my mind in turmoil, I turned to leave when I saw Fidel walking towards me. "Brianna came to us as a litigant seeking representation for her divorce case," he said, looking at me with frankness, yet recalling my colleague's earlier words, I couldn't help but ask, "Will you be Brianna's litigation attorney?" Fidel had established a rule against bringing personal matters into work, as it could affect judgment and fairness, so he never took cases from acquaintances, leading by example. Only Fidel didn't answer me before already entering the meeting room. I don't know what they said. I only saw Brianna tearing up as she spoke. Then Fidel handed her a tissue from the table. Afterwards, Brianna's makeup seemed smeared from crying, and Fidel's usually composed expression appeared to have quietly melted away. A bitter feeling welled up in my chest as I returned to my office. At noon, as I stepped out, I overheard a colleague say again, "Fidel has always valued time like gold," yet unexpectedly made an exception to chat with Brianna for over 2 hours. I was lost in thought until Fidel came over to call me for lunch. "Let's go." "Same old place as usual," I responded, and joining us for dinner was Eric from the same law firm. After we arrived, Fidel went to place our order. As I looked at Eric sitting across from me, I remembered they both attended the University of Political Science and Law and were even bunkmates. I asked softly, "Eric, do you know Brianna?" Eric looked up at me, as if guessing something, and began to explain, "Junior sister, don't overthink it. Fidel and Brianna are already a thing of the past." As soon as he finished speaking, Fidel returned with a tray of food. The conversation came to an abrupt halt. Fidel would still peel the shrimp in my bowl and put a straw in my strawberry milk tea for me, as if nothing had changed. After the meal, Eric left first. As we walked side by side, the sky darkened, and he draped his coat over my shoulders while saying, "Martina, I've decided to take Brianna's case." Chapter 3. Every client deserves a fair defense. That's our duty as lawyers. He spoke with such moral conviction that I couldn't logically refute him. But my chest felt as if weighed down by damp cotton, and my heart was uncomfortably blocked by something. I understand Fidel. He is a man who engraves principles into his very bones and blood, never breaking rules for anyone, yet now he lowers his standards for Brianna. My voice came out slightly hoarse. "All right, There are many cases lately, take care of yourself. Fidel. A trace of a relaxed smile appeared on his usually composed and restrained face. It's all right, I know what I'm doing. Don't worry too much about me. Seeing his smile, I returned his coat to him, no longer wanting to press further. Fidel, the words of parting were on the tip of my tongue when Fidel's phone rang. As he swiped to answer, I caught a glimpse of the caller ID. It was Brianna. Fidel stepped aside to take the call and returned moments later with a furrowed brow. Brianna says her ex-husband has tracked down her current address and is banging on the door. As her attorney on the case, I need to go. With that, he took the coat. I'll come back as soon as possible. The car's in for repairs, so wait for me after work tonight. I watched him quickly hail a taxi and leave, the car soon disappearing at the end of the road. At that very moment, my resolve to break up with him grew stronger. I returned to the law firm. Setting aside my thoughts, I tackled the pile of work. At 3 in the afternoon, the company served afternoon tea, and I noticed Fidel's office door was tightly shut. At 4 o'clock, my assistant brought me the verdict of a case and casually mentioned, Fidel was still out on fieldwork today. By 5 in the evening, my unresolved feelings, combined with getting drenched in the morning rain, left me with a stabbing headache. I barely managed to finish the work at hand after ordering a cup of coffee to keep myself going. Dusk crept along the windowsill as quitting time approached. Fidel, who had been absent most of the day, finally sent a message, Martina. I'm not done here yet. Wait for me at the law firm a little longer. I glanced at it but didn't reply. I went downstairs to the pharmacy. When I returned to the law firm, I saw Fidel's office door was open. I went over to find him and saw a crowd gathered inside. With bruises from a beating visible on half of his face, Brianna was applying medicine with a cotton swab while crying. Fidel, I'm sorry. If you hadn't gotten involved for my sake, you wouldn't have gotten hurt. Everyone immediately spoke up upon hearing this. Brianna, what nonsense are you talking about? How could the boss stand by and let that scum hurt you? Have you forgotten? Back when your foster father was beating you, the boss deliberately picked a fight with him and didn't fight back, just to get him sent to prison and give you a clean slate in life. At that time, the boss was beaten black and blue but never backed down. How can you say such things now and deny his intentions? Amidst everyone's chatter, I came to understand Fidel's facial injuries were suffered for Brianna's sake. I also learned about their shared past. They had been in love for 7 years, from their naive high school romance to officially becoming a couple after graduation. After college, Brianna planned to study abroad, while Fidel wanted to stay and build his career locally. Unable to reach a compromise, Fidel was pressured by his family to go on blind dates. Brianna then broke up with him and went abroad. 2 years passed, Brianna married someone else, while Fidel became a renowned top lawyer in the industry. Anyway, Brianna is getting divorced now, and the boss is still single. Why don't you two rekindle your old flame? Someone else chimed in, stirring up the conversation again. Before my chest could no longer breathe, I turned and walked away. The dark clouds pressed low against the sky as I opened my phone and typed a few lines to Fidel. Fidel, I always thought your calm composure was a sign of maturity until Brianna appeared, and I realized you had that impulsive side too. I, too, long for my boyfriend's fiery, passionate embrace, for his unique devotion, not the same dull routine day after day. Fidel, I won't wait for you anymore. Let's end this. After sending the message, I took a taxi home. I made myself some instant medicine drink and started packing my belongings. Opening the wardrobe drawer revealed a row of Hermes classic scarves neatly folded in place. Those scarves were ordered for me by Fidel's secretary every year on my birthday. Dozens of scarves, all from the same Hermes collection, differing only in color. I've always treasured them carefully, only wearing them on particularly important occasions. Only now have I come to understand. The issue wasn't that Fidel was inherently clueless about romance, but rather his lack of attention that led to such perfunctory gift choices. I reached for the clothes nearby, leaving those scarves behind. After finishing tidying up, I glanced at the silent phone screen. 11 p.m. Carrying my suitcase downstairs, I passed the space-themed figurines by the TV stand that Fidel and I had picked out together, and the potted plants on the balcony that I'd nurtured with my own hands. My heart felt hollow, and my eyes stung slightly. There was no sound from the door. Fidel hadn't returned. I didn't linger any longer and walked toward the door. As my hand touched the doorknob, Fidel sent a message. My phone was dead earlier. I'm back now. I didn't reply, just turned the doorknob and left. The stream of cars flowed like a river of light, reflecting my pale face. At midnight, I stood outside my best friend Anna's door. Why are you coming so late? Anna couldn't hide her surprise upon seeing it was me. I went in to put down my luggage and said with forced nonchalance, "I dumped Fidel." Anna was utterly incredulous and pressed urgently for details. "What happened? Weren't you just saying 2 days ago that you wanted to get married and were planning to hint for Fidel to propose?" I lowered my gaze, unsure how to respond. All the defenses I'd built up inside before coming here were still shaken by Anna's concern. I tried to calmly recount what had happened today, how Fidel had lost his composure when facing his ex-girlfriend Brianna, and how he'd broken his own rules to take on a case for Brianna. The calmer I appeared, Anna the more heartbroken she became, unsure how to comfort me. All she could do was make me a cup of hot milk after my shower and stay up all night watching movies with me. It was nearly 5 a.m. Before we finally drifted off to sleep, when I woke again, I heard Anna's indignant voice outside the door. "Fidel, there are some things I didn't want to say. Martina is the youngest in our dorm, yet she was the first to get into a relationship, when she met you through a blind date. We all thought you were steady and reliable, and were happy for her. But being entangled with your ex-girlfriend, I don't believe you can't draw the line." "Span," Fidel spoke slowly, "it was an emergency. No need to explain to me, Span." Anna cut him off directly, lowering her voice. "Martina is in the room. If you have any apologies, say them to her yourself." As the words fell, footsteps approached from a distance. I heard Fidel knock on the door and then enter. Morning light spilled into the room, illuminating us in mutual silence. Fidel stood a few meters away from the bed, speaking in an unhurried tone. "When I rushed to Brianna's house yesterday, her ex-husband was about to attack her with a knife. In the heat of the moment, I intervened and got injured. After that, she brought me back to the law firm. These actions weren't favoritism or impulsiveness, they were standard protective measures a lawyer provides to a client." "You've misunderstood." He spoke with such frankness, as if everything was merely my own oversensitivity. "Isn't this exactly how two people in love behave because they care about each other?" Exhausted, I looked at Fidel and asked, "If this case didn't involve Brianna, but another friend of yours suffering domestic violence, would you take it?" Fidel lowered his brows in silence, unable to answer. I asked again, "Let me rephrase the question. If something happened to me, would you also drop everything and rush to my side?" Fidel furrowed his brows and was about to respond when a sudden, urgent ringtone pierced the air. He picked up the phone. Hearing the anxious voice of his colleague on the other end, "Boss, Brianna's ex-husband has tracked us down. He's smashing up the law firm and threatening to forcibly take Brianna." Fidel responded in a low voice, "Keep him under control, I'm on my way back." With that, he turned and left immediately. He walked to the door, then turned back to explain, "Brianna's ex-husband has a criminal record abroad. He's the type who'd actually do something like this." I calmly said to him, "Go ahead. Love makes people impulsive." I already knew his answer, but it no longer mattered. The law contains the most romantic phrase, "Your presence alone is enough to make my heartbeat race and disrupt social order." Clearly, Fidel's emotional fluctuations weren't for me, and never have been for me. Anna opened the door and walked in, asking with concern, "How did it go? Did you two have a good talk?" A breeze picked up, scattering my hair and gently piercing the composure I'd been struggling to maintain. I rose to close the window, trying to sound light-hearted. "Well, it's completely over between us." Anna remained silent for a long while, ultimately refraining from further questions and respecting my decision. After breakfast, one of us took the bus to work while the other rode the subway to the law firm. I just hadn't expected that upon arriving at the firm, Brianna and her ex-husband would still be there. I observed the man, probably in his 30s, with rather ordinary features. Completely different from Fidel's refined handsomeness, the tone was even more arrogant. "Fidel, let me tell you, what happened between me and Brianna was just marital banter. I won't get a divorce. Your violent behavior towards Brianna has violated her right to life. She has every right to file for divorce. If you refuse to cooperate, you will face severe legal consequences." Fidel's gaze was sharp, reminiscent of the young man his colleagues described, the one who stood up for Brianna during the debate competition years ago. The man's face stiffened, but he soon scoffed lightly, "Don't try to scare me. Don't think I don't know you're her old flame, trying to ruin our chance at reconciliation." "Tony, what nonsense are you talking? There's nothing between me and Fidel. It's you who's always drinking, hitting people, gambling, and drowning in debt. I can't live with you anymore. I can't stand you." Brianna's red-eyed retort completely enraged the man. "Fine, you insist on divorce, on making this ugly. Then I won't let either of you off easy." With that, he grabbed a potted plant from the nearby table and hurled it at Brianna. Just then, Fidel stepped sideways and shielded Brianna, The usually fastidious Fidel now had his suit smeared with dirt, looking utterly disheveled. Witnessing this scene, my heart stung as if bitten by a mosquito. A subtle itch spread along the blood vessels, making even the sound of breathing from the chest feel muffled. Fidel, no matter how candid his words were, the body's instinctive defense couldn't deceive the heart. Just as the man was about to continue his attack, I triggered the alarm tone on my phone. I knew that continuing this confrontation would lead nowhere. I stepped forward and spoke slowly. "Sir, I've already called the police. Your forced entry into the law firm and intentional destruction of property constitute illegal behavior. The authorities will be here shortly." The man glanced at the other people in the law firm. Seeing their indifferent expressions, he finally seemed to panic and reluctantly left. The farce finally came to an end as everyone began cleaning up the mess. I also lowered my gaze, withdrew my attention, and turned to enter my own office. Fidel watched Martina's slender figure receding, his expression flickering with complex emotions as he prepared to step forward. A colleague called out to him, "Boss, Brianna seems to be injured, you should come take a look." His footsteps halted, and he didn't pursue her further. The sounds from outside faded into silence. I turned on my computer and began drafting my resignation letter. Suddenly, a pop-up window appeared in the lower right corner of the screen. I clicked on it. It was an invitation from Pinnacle Law Firm in the UK. "MS, Martina. Your qualifications perfectly match our firm's recruitment requirements. We sincerely invite you to join us. Pinnacle is a globally renowned international law firm, primarily focused on the field of women's rights protection. Speaking up for women's rights worldwide and using the law to shield them has always been my aspiration. When I saw their job posting 3 months ago, I immediately submitted my resume. Now that I've received the invitation, it suddenly feels like everything has fallen perfectly into place." Soon after, I replied via email expressing my gratitude for the recognition and my eagerness to join. The moment the email was sent, I looked up at the clear blue sky outside, feeling the weight in my heart lighten considerably. 10 minutes later, my resignation letter was ready, and I was about to step out. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. I looked up and saw Brianna walking in with a smile. "Martina, I came to thank you for helping me call the police earlier to drive away my ex-husband. Who knows how far he would have gone otherwise. I wasn't close with Brianna, and we wouldn't have any interactions in the future." I simply replied indifferently, "No need. I called the police just to stop him from disrupting everyone's work." Brianna's smile faltered awkwardly for a moment. After a pause, she continued, "I know you're bothered by my history with Fidel, but I think you've misunderstood me. We were together for 7 years, squeezed into rented rooms, endured the hardest times, but we both knew we'd missed our chance. He deserves someone better." Brianna spoke earnestly, yet her words carried unmistakable reluctance and lingering attachment to that relationship. My heart was pierced once again, and I pressed my lips together, cutting her off without hesitation. "You don't need to tell me these things. I have no interest in your past, and besides, Fidel and I have already broken up." Brianna's face flickered with surprise. Without giving her a chance to speak further, I stood up and walked away, then walked straight into Fidel's office and placed the resignation letter on his desk. I said lightly, "Fidel, this is my resignation letter. Please approve it." The quiet office was utterly silent. Fidel looked up at Martina, unable to find the right words to respond for a long while. The last time she had addressed him with such detachment was during their blind date 5 years ago. If memory served, he refused to believe Martina could truly bring herself to do it. Fidel set down the documents and spoke to her slowly. "You saw it yourself just now. It was Brianna's ex-husband making too much of a scene, so I stepped in to help her. Do you still want to break up and leave the law firm?" Hearing this same righteous explanation again, my heart sank. I've always believed that in a relationship, the most taboo thing is to remain entangled and ambiguous with an ex. Every time he kindly intervenes for Brianna, it's the cruelest hurt to me. I nodded lightly and walked out. Then I went to HR to get a cardboard box and started packing my personal belongings. When I opened the drawer, I saw a black velvet box, the custom-made fountain pen I had ordered for Fidel. Inside the cap were engraved the letters "My Reliance." I had planned to give this as a gift for our 1314th day of love yesterday, but ended up encountering Brianna rear-ending our car. Perhaps in the unseen workings of fate, heaven had long been hinting that we weren't meant to be. Fidel was never my shelter, but someone else's harbor. I forced a smile, placed the fountain pen on the table, and continued packing. In just a few minutes, the once cluttered desk was completely empty, leaving only a pot of greenery with a hint of life. I glanced at the place where I had fought for 3 years. The sunlight was glaring, and I squinted slightly before picking up the cardboard box and heading out. Fidel suddenly appeared at the door. "Before you leave, let's have a meal together." Before I could refuse, he picked up my box and walked ahead. As I reached the doorway, a colleague approached me. "Fidel, Brianna's ex-husband's domestic violence case, we've found additional evidence." Fidel glanced at me, hesitating. I slightly parted my lips. "It's all right. Work matters are important. Go ahead. From now on, I'll be my own support and confidence, without needing to rely on anyone. And Fidel is just a passing scene in my life." Scene, remembered. "And then we should each continue our own journeys." Fidel couldn't help speaking again. "If you ever need help in the future, just say the word." I didn't respond. Walking straight out of the law firm, I hailed a taxi by the roadside and never looked back. In the car, I blocked and deleted all of Fidel's contact information and left the law firm's group chat. The law firm's salary arrived in my account that very afternoon. Our relationship began quietly, and who would have thought even its end would be as light as water? After that, I was busy applying for a UK visa and preparing for the IELTS Level 8 exam. Life was peaceful yet fulfilling. As summer faded into autumn, I welcomed my first birthday as a single woman again, my 26th birthday. Anna specially reserved a restaurant to celebrate my birthday. As I cut the cake and made a wish, I silently prayed in my heart. Another year older, may I reach higher and farther places, see brighter lights, and do everything in my power to uphold justice for the people. On the night before I left, I overheard Anna casually mention Fidel. "I heard Brianna's divorce case was settled, she won. And now she's even working as an intern at Fidel's law firm. But he's not under Fidel's command, he's under your Eric's command." Hearing Fidel's name again gave me a sense of being in another lifetime. It felt like being with him was something from a past life. Seeing I didn't respond, Anna paused before continuing. "Also, I heard their law firm has hired many people recently. But that office you used to have, he's kept it empty all this time." My heart remained calm and undisturbed, like water reflecting the moon. Only by not dwelling on the past can one look forward to the future. What's gone is gone. I've never been one to look back, let alone for someone who never loved me. The next day, I boarded a plane bound for England, arriving at London's most prestigious financial district, where the world's top elites converge. I finally fulfilled my dream of becoming a lawyer dedicated to protecting women's rights. The work pace was fast, the competition exceptionally fierce, yet my days felt extraordinarily fulfilling. I'm quite satisfied with this state of affairs, and unexpectedly discovered a new career path, gradually finding a direction that suits me well. Amidst the busyness and challenges, I've slowly adapted and gradually grown. A year later, winter arrived. I successfully won a tricky rights defense case. And Pinnacle Law Firm wanted to sign a long-term contract with me, but I chose to return to my homeland, to give back to my country once more with the knowledge I had gained. Anna waited at the airport exit early to pick me up after hearing the news. After a 10-hour journey, I walked toward the parking lot upon landing, only to unexpectedly bump into a familiar figure. "Martina, long time no see." I looked up and saw Fidel standing before me, extending his hand. His dark eyes firmly locked onto me. I was momentarily stunned. My first reaction upon seeing Fidel was an overwhelming sense of unfamiliarity. It wasn't until I noticed his intense gaze that I politely extended my hand in return. "Long time no see." Then, I quickly withdrew my hand, my clear eyes showing not a ripple of emotion. Fidel held his breath, lifting his foot to step forward only to find it weighed down as if by 1,000 pounds, lacking the courage to approach. After a year apart, Martina stood wearing a sharply tailored beige trench coat, her shoulder-length hair loosely tied back, her face glowing with a translucent porcelain pallor. Compared to before, this woman had matured considerably, yet had also become more radiantly beautiful. The airport lights cast cold white halos, the space between them filled only with hurried passengers dragging their luggage past. He gazed at her, lost in thought for what seemed like an eternity. I spoke first. "I have plans with someone, so I'll head out now." Only after hearing her words did Fidel swallow hard, unable to hold back any longer. "Martina, I came here specifically to see you." I paused mid-step but didn't respond. Fidel was about to speak, but when he raised his eyes to meet her calm, unreadable gaze, he suddenly found himself at a loss for words. A year ago, Martina had broken up with him and left her job. He had intended to explain everything properly over a meal, but by the time he finished work and came out, she had already left, blocking all his contact methods, leaving only a fountain pen on the table. Later, when he went to her best friend Anna's place to look for her, he came up empty-handed again. After his repeated questioning, Anna reluctantly admitted that she had gone to Pinnacle Law Firm in the UK. Upon hearing this news, Fidel felt both happy for her and an indescribable sense of loss, being in a foreign land where they couldn't meet, how difficult it was to clear up the misunderstanding. Later, through a lawyer friend abroad, he learned that she was about to return home and waited for her at the airport early. But when I actually saw her, her gaze was calm, with no trace of admiration for him in her eyes, not even any emotion at all. Fidel felt a sharp sting in his heart, and panic set in. Though 1,000 words swirled in his mind, in the end, he could only force out one sentence. How have you been this past year? Are you doing all right, thinking back on those days of struggle? I curved my lips slightly. Quite well, I've learned a lot this year, grown a lot too, congratulations. I've also heard you've become one of the top gold medal lawyers in the UK legal circle. I'm truly happy for you, Fidel congratulated. I merely curled my lips faintly, thank you. After that, another stretch of silence ensued. I really didn't want to drag this out, so I spoke up again. Fidel, did you come all this way just to ask that? If there's nothing else, I really have to go. Anna is waiting for me. With that, I turned and started walking toward the parking lot. I'd only taken a couple of steps when Fidel called out to me from behind. Martina, why did you leave without saying goodbye back then? I paused in my steps and slowly turned around. Fidel, I believe I made it quite clear back then, we've broken up. I have no obligation to inform you of my whereabouts. Hearing these words, Fidel felt as if something had wrenched his heart, leaving him with a suffocating tightness in his chest. Looking at Martina's indifferent face, he opened his mouth to explain. I interrupted him and spoke up. If there's no necessary interaction in the future, I'd rather you not come looking for me again. I've said it before, I don't like keeping ties with exes. Seeing me so resolute, Fidel could no longer contain the emotions he'd suppressed for so long, finally roaring out the words buried deep in his heart. Martina, haven't you thought of me even once this whole year? How could you be so heartless, leaving just like that? Was there never any sincerity in your feelings for me? Hearing the shouts behind me, my body stiffened. Without answering Fidel, I quickened my pace and headed straight for the parking lot. I was still somewhat dazed when I got into the car. I thought that no matter what Fidel said when I saw him again, it wouldn't stir the slightest ripple in me. But hearing those words from him just now still made my heart clench involuntarily. Anna noticed my absent-minded state as I got in the car and was about to ask, but then she spotted Fidel not far away through the rearview mirror. She let out a sigh. Martina, I'm sorry. After you left a year ago, Fidel came to my house every day looking for you. But I only told him you went to England. I absolutely never mentioned you were returning today. Of course I believed Anna, and she wasn't blaming her either. Her voice just sounded a bit muffled. It's fine, let's go. I'm exhausted today and just want to get some proper rest. Anna wore an understanding expression and teased with a smile. All right, Ms. Martina, you've worked hard. I'll escort you to rest right away. I glanced at her sideways and responded with a helpless smile. Always so talkative, stop making fun of me, Anna added excitedly. Don't worry, I've already made arrangements. Tonight, we're going out to properly unwind. I didn't speak again, just gave a soft acknowledgement before closing my eyes and leaning back against the chair. Just now, Fidel's words, along with the glimpse of his reddened eyes, kept circling in my mind. It was the first time in 5 years I'd seen him lose control like this. I couldn't understand. Clearly Fidel had never been truly sincere with me, and in the past, only Brianna could make him show such nervous concern. Perhaps men are naturally fickle by nature. The thought made me irritable, and I decided not to dwell on these ideas any longer, wanting only to get a good night's sleep as soon as possible. On the other side, Fidel stood frozen in place, unable to snap out of it for a long time. Martina hadn't had a proper night's sleep in months after she left. It's been 5 years together, and he's never been apart from her for this long. He misses her so much. He wanted to tell Martina all these things too, but when they finally met, she was so cold and heartless, he could no longer hold back his emotions, but it only led to an even worse situation. It was like punching cotton, not even a ripple was stirred. He stood in the cold wind for a long time, until the chime of a WeChat notification pulled him back to reality. Opening the screen, it was a message from Brianna. Fidel, thank you for your care during this time. I've arrived safely in City L. Fidel stared at the screen in silence for a moment before typing a reply with his fingertips. That's good. May you find your own place in City L. There's no need for us to stay in touch from now on. A year ago, Martina left, and Brianna finally won her divorce case. Brianna pleaded with him again, saying she had nowhere to go for the time being and hoped to stay at the law firm for a transitional period. At first, He firmly refused. It wasn't until Brianna confessed she had a young child to support, only then did he relent, allowing Brianna to stay at the law firm to study legal fundamentals, eventually helping her obtain a law-related certification. Later, he contacted a law firm he was previously acquainted with and recommended Brianna to work there as an assistant. But all of this was merely out of his sympathy for a client. After all, he had known Brianna for some time. He couldn't bear to see a woman who had just fallen into hardship, struggling to find stable work while raising a child. He had made it clear to Brianna that he already had a loved one and there was absolutely no chance of rekindling their past relationship. After replying to Brianna, he deleted both her WeChat contact and phone number. I was just about to turn off my phone when a call came in. "Boss, didn't we agree on a firm gathering tonight? You're the only one missing." Fidel had never been fond of such occasions, always delegating arrangements to his secretary while rarely attending himself. He was about to decline when his secretary hastily added, "You can't miss tonight. All these newcomers have achieved so much over the past few months, they're counting on you to boost morale." Fidel had no choice but to reluctantly agree. "Fine, send me the address, I'm on my way now." He hung up the phone and turned to walk toward the parking lot. At the same time, still lying asleep in the car, I was shaken awake by Anna. "Martina, wake up, we're here." The moment I opened my eyes, I was completely stunned. The car window framed glittering large characters, "Karaoke Club." Anna urged me to get out of the car, but I clung desperately to the seatbelt, refusing to budge. "Anna, I'm only 27. Why are you taking me to this gathering place for middle-aged and elderly people?" Anna rolled her eyes and pulled my arm, saying, "What gathering place for middle-aged people? Don't talk nonsense. You just haven't experienced the joy here yet. You'll understand my good intentions soon enough." Before Martina could retort, Anna had already pulled me out of the car, half dragging me inside. An hour later, I lay on the massage chair while a skilled and beautiful attendant worked on my head and neck from behind. Anna leaned over with a smile and asked, "So, didn't I tell you?" With a freshly applied mud mask still on my face, I closed my eyes, extended my hand, and gave a thumbs up. "Heavenly." Anna laughed even more heartily, poking my arm. "I told you, when it comes to enjoying life, how could we ever compare to those experienced aunties and uncles? My colleague brought me here before, and I got hooked after just one try." The service bell rang as a staff member in uniform entered. "Ladies, your aromatherapy massage session is just about to begin." I opened my eyes and looked at Anna, pretending to be serious. "Anna, where are we going next?" Anna mysterious blinked. "What's the hurry? It's just massage time. The rest is just beginning." Though puzzled, I obediently washed my face and followed Anna to the next session. The destination was one floor up in the same building. Anna explained as we walked, "Here, the more fun activities are on higher floors. We've just experienced 2 levels, and now we're heading to the top floor." Watching Anna navigate so familiarly, I shook my head helplessly and followed. As soon as we reached the floor, we saw 2 staff members standing by the elevator doors, bowing in welcome. "Ladies, your private room is this way," they said. Anna and Anna followed them through the hallway and pushed open the door to enter the private room. As soon as the door opened, I saw several handsome men standing inside, dressed in black fitted vests paired with white shirts. Smiling as they waited, my pupils constricted abruptly, and I turned to leave immediately. "Anna, don't ruin me. I just finally earned my gold medal lawyer status. Don't make me lose my job and reputation." Anna grabbed my arm, looking both amused and exasperated. "What are you thinking? These handsome guys are just waiters who serve drinks, sing with us, and give foot massages. Besides, if this place wasn't completely legal, would I dare bring you here?" Hearing Anna's words, my anxious heart finally settled. But I'd never experienced this kind of situation before and still wanted to leave, only to be forcibly pulled down to sit by Anna. "Leave. Since you're back on vacation, you should have a good time, especially now that you're single." Anna snapped me out of it with just one sentence. All these years with Fidel, I've spent most of my time and energy on him. I've even gradually drifted away from my own social circle. After the breakup, I threw myself wholeheartedly into my career again, devoting all my time to the law firm and cases. Now that I finally have a chance to relax and admire these handsome young men, why should I keep them at arm's length? With that thought, I completely loosened my tense nerves and started Anna having fun with abandon. After receiving the secretary's call, Fidel drove to the address and stared out the car window in confusion for 3 minutes. After all, those glaringly bright characters didn't quite match his impeccably tailored suit. Just as he was about to turn back, his phone rang again. It was his secretary sending the private room number. After a moment's hesitation, he had no choice but to exit the car and follow the signs upstairs. As soon as he reached the door of the private room, he heard boisterous laughter and chatter inside, making him even more inclined to retreat, but remembering his secretary's words, he steeled himself and pushed the door open. The next moment, the scene before him completely shocked him. Anna stood before the karaoke screen, belting out old love songs into the microphone. Meanwhile, Martina lay sprawled on the sofa, utterly drunk, surrounded by men fetching her drinks. A surge of nameless fury rushed to his head. He strode up to Martina and shouted sharply, "Martina, what are you doing?" I was immersed in Anna's singing when the waiter beside me handed over a piece of cut fruit, which I bit into without hesitation. Suddenly hearing an angry shout, I looked up, but my drunken eyes couldn't focus at all. All I sensed was that the person before me looked somewhat familiar and was far more handsome than the waiters nearby. I squinted my eyes and grinned foolishly, saying, "You're so handsome. Are you new here?" After that, everything spun around me, and I lost consciousness. When I woke up again, the hangover made my head feel like it was splitting open. I opened my bleary eyes to see the familiar light grey ceiling. After staring blankly for a few seconds, I finally realized this was Fidel's house. How did I end up in Fidel's place? I clearly went to that karaoke foot massage parlor. How could I be here? Before I could sort out my thoughts, the sound of steady footsteps grew closer. I immediately closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. With my eyes closed, I felt a pair of hands gently tuck in the corners of my blanket. Then, a warm, moist touch lingered on my forehead. Fidel remained seated by the bedside for a long while. It wasn't until he rose to leave and the door clicked softly shut that I opened my eyes again. A surge of emotion welled up in my chest. Just now Fidel kissed me, after 5 years together. Intimate gestures between me and Fidel could be counted on one hand. Even holding hands or hugging required my initiative. Yet just now, the usually distant and aloof Fidel actually kissed me first. As my heartbeat grew erratic, fragmented memories from last night's drunken state suddenly flooded my mind. "Handsome, you must be the top performer at this club, right? With those broad shoulders and narrow waist, you must be in high demand. Thank you for carrying me home, here's your tip. You should head back now." For a moment, I wished I could just disappear into the ground. Just as I didn't know how to face Fidel, a soft closing sound came from outside. After that, there was no sound outside the house. I tiptoed out of bed, opened the door a crack, and after making sure no one was in the living room, grabbed my coat to leave. Just as I reached the entrance, a deep voice suddenly came from behind. "Martina." Chapter 11. At this moment, I wished I could vanish on the spot. But since things had come to this, I could only turn around with feigned composure. "Good morning, Fidel." Fidel's expression was unreadable as he spoke calmly. "Come finish breakfast before you leave." I wanted to refuse, but the unyielding insistence in his eyes silenced my words. At the dinner table, Fidel still removed the crust from my toast as he always did, placing it in his own bowl. After a moment of silence, I looked up at him, my tone calm yet probing. "Last night." Fidel kept his head down while eating breakfast and said casually, "You want to ask if you did anything outrageous last night?" I tightened my grip on the chopsticks and said softly, "I just don't want to cause you any trouble." The man still didn't look up. "No." I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Just then, Fidel slowly raised his head, his tone carrying a hint of teasing. "Just ordered 10 waiters to surround you," singing while drunkenly causing a scene. And even mistook me for a male model wanting to stop. Hearing these words, my cheeks burned crimson, unable to listen any further as I choked on my breath. Flustered, I said, "I'm not good with alcohol. Fidel, please forgive me." Fidel didn't continue, but his expression darkened. "Martina, between us, you don't need to call me Fidel." Hearing this, I fell silent for a moment before dropping my evasive manner and adopting a serious expression. "Sorry, I maintain distance with all my exes. Last night I went out with Anna and didn't expect to run into you. What I said at the airport was my true feelings. I won't change my mind." I paused, then remembered last night's incident of vomiting on him, and added, "Thank you for taking care of me last night and treating me to breakfast. I'll transfer the laundry expenses to your account." As I spoke, I tried to stand up and leave, but Fidel grabbed my wrist. Frowning, I turned to pull my hand back, only to meet the man's eyes red-rimmed with restrained emotion. "Martina, you'd rather hire male escorts than be with me." My heart suddenly clenched, and I froze in an instant. The usually composed and restrained Fidel now had waves of pain surging in his eyes. Dressed in this beige loungewear, he looked like a wronged giant puppy. But in just a moment, I regained my composure. "That's water under the bridge. We've already broken up, I'm free to do whatever I want, and it's none of your business. With that, I shook off his hand and walked away without looking back. After leaving Fidel's place, my emotions remained unsettled for a long time. I thought I'd completely moved on from Fidel during these months abroad, but seeing him like that just now still stirred my compassion. But then it occurred to me, remembering what happened between him and Brianna, and I immediately snapped back to reality. No matter how he is now, there's no way we could ever go back to the past. I'm quite content with my life now, with a job I love, and friends and family who care for me. Everything is just blissful. Distraught, Fidel sat motionless at the dining table, the chair opposite him empty. Ever since breaking up with Martina, it had always been this way. He had lost the habit of eating breakfast, sometimes skipping it altogether. Today, Martina had finally returned to sit in that chair again. He had meticulously prepared breakfast early in the morning, yet barely touched it. Remembering how he saw Martina in a drunken mess when he entered the private room last night, his heart ached with both pain and anger. While carrying her back, he couldn't resist taking advantage of her drunken state to ask her, "Martina, what would you do if Fidel came back to reconcile with you?" Martina answered bluntly, "Nothing. I don't like him." He unlocked his phone and gazed at the woman with a radiant smile on the wallpaper, unable to suppress a low curse under his breath. "Martina, you're such a villain." Returning to Anna's place, I gently knocked on the door. After what felt like an eternity, the door finally creaked open as someone inside groggily answered. "You're back." Anna, still half asleep while heading to her room, suddenly stopped in her tracks. "You didn't come home last night." I thought Anna, who was completely drunk last night, would still be unconscious and go back to sleep, but she actually noticed. No choice, I could only reply helplessly, "Yeah." Anna's drowsiness vanished instantly as she grabbed me and began interrogating me like a criminal suspect. "Speak, where did you go last night? Which man did you leave with? Was he handsome, over 6 feet tall? Does he have an 8-pack? A barrage of questions came at me, and I sighed. It was Fidel. Anna's pupils constricted sharply, even more surprised. "What? How could it be him?" I lowered my gaze and said, "I don't know either. I was drunk last night, and when I woke up, I was at his place." Hearing this, Anna winked mischievously. "So did you too?" "No." I quickly cut her off, explaining, "We broke up a year ago. He's just being kind by looking after me." Anna raised an eyebrow. All right, no need to get so flustered, the way you're blushing. I thought something had happened between you." "Nothing much really happened. It's just that when I remembered Fidel's gentle morning kiss on my forehead, I couldn't help but feel my cheeks burn." I shook my head to stop dwelling on it and changed the subject. "All right, I didn't sleep well last night. I'm going in to catch up on some sleep." With that, I practically fled into my room and shut the door. Lying in bed, last night's hangover still left me slightly dizzy. Fragments of memory playing in my mind like a magic lantern show. After leaving the club, he carefully carried me back to the car. I vomited in a mess, and he patiently took care of me. When we arrived at the neighborhood, Fidel bent down to carry me upstairs, whispering comforting words all the way. I babbled a lot of nonsense and acted drunk, but Fidel let me carry on without restraint. These were all things I never thought Fidel would do. The more I thought about it, the more confused I became. Eventually, I pulled the covers over my head, my eyelids growing heavier until my consciousness faded into sleep. When I woke again, it was already 5 p.m. The slanting rays of the setting sun outside the window cast a warm glow into the room, and I felt a hollow emptiness in my stomach. There was a knock at the door outside. I had just woken up when Anna went to open the door and saw a delivery guy standing outside. "Hello, are you Ms. Martina? Here's your order." Looking at the large bag full of food and several exquisite desserts, I looked utterly bewildered. Anna turned her head, met my gaze, and took the takeout with a smile. "Thank you." After the delivery guy left, Anna closed the door, carefully read the order note, and deliberately drew out her tone. "Who ordered this for you? Knowing I'm with you and even getting a portion for 2, how thoughtful. It says for honey." Hearing that nickname, my heart skipped a beat. Back when I first got together with Fidel, he often ordered takeout for me too. Every time, the note would say for honey. I stayed silent as Anna opened the food container. "Martina, free food is free food. After all he owes you, what's wrong with eating his food?" Before I could speak, my phone chimed with a message notification. Opening it, I saw a text from an unfamiliar number. "If you're awake, remember to eat. I ordered your favorite sweet and sour ribs. Don't ruin your stomach by starving." Reading this message, I didn't need to guess it could only be Fidel. An inexplicable irritation rose in my heart. I immediately opened the banking app, entered Fidel's account number, and transferred a sum of money. Then I opened the text message chat box to reply, "Thank you for taking care of me last night, but please don't disturb me again. Fidel, it's over between us. The cost for laundry and takeout has been transferred." After sending it, I blocked and deleted the number. Anna was eating beside me and noticed my furrowed brows. She casually asked, "What's wrong?" I turned off my phone and shook my head with a smile. "Nothing, let's eat." On the other end, Fidel, who received the transfer, felt his heart sink as he read the message on his phone. How had he never noticed before that Martina was like a hedgehog covered in spines, raising her sharp defenses at the slightest touch? But ever since he'd known her, she had always been that kind of clear-headed, independent woman who never left loose ends. Fidel took a deep breath and began typing in the chat box. "Martina, I know you decided to break up because of me and Brianna. I can explain what happened before. Now I've completely cut ties with Brianna. Can you give me a chance to talk?" The moment the message was sent, a glaring red exclamation mark popped up. Gazing at the gradually deepening night outside the window, he sighed and collapsed powerlessly onto the sofa. 1 week later, ever since going out with Anna that night I returned, I haven't left the house, just lying at home resting. Every day was spent snacking and binge-watching shows. With no more harassing messages from strangers, life was leisurely and comfortable. Anna continued working as usual until the weekend finally arrived. After lounging at home all morning, she suddenly sat up. "Martina, let's go check out the new mall today. I also saw a newly released movie a few days ago. Want to go watch it?" Freshly dressed in formal attire, I walked out of my room. "All right, but I need to go somewhere first," Anna replied without hesitation. "Where to?" "I'll go with you." In the blink of an eye, Anna and I were already standing outside the courthouse. Anna shrank back at the sight of such a solemn setting, protesting repeatedly. "No way. You go ahead by yourself. I'll wait outside." Seeing Anna's visibly uncomfortable expression, I couldn't help but chuckle. "Then wait for me in the car. Once this is over, I'll come back for you." Anna nodded and turned back to the car. Entering the courthouse, I took out the case files I'd prepared in advance from my bag. While working abroad, a British client had asked me for help, saying her niece was going through a divorce lawsuit. The girl's parents passed away early, and she was raised by her aunt. Her aunt thought she had found a reliable husband for her and entrusted the girl to him with peace of mind. But after marriage, the man revealed his true nature, attempting to seize the girl's assets. Moreover, the man was a legal professional, skilled in calculating property division. Before the divorce, he had already taken advantage of the girl by making her sign an unfair agreement. If they divorced, she would leave with nothing, and all property would belong to the man. The marriage dragged on for over half a year without resolution, leaving the girl deeply depressed. Her aunt in England was too far away to offer any practical help. By chance, she met me and, hearing I was a lawyer specializing in women's rights, asked me to take her case. Seeing the girl's pitiable state and with my vacation back home coinciding, I agreed to take on her case. During these days back home, apart from resting, I've also been busy preparing relevant materials. I had multiple video calls with the girl to discuss the details of the case, patiently guiding her to recall key moments in her marriage and carefully documenting the evidence. As soon as I entered the courtroom, I saw the girl sitting nervously in the plaintiff's seat. I gave her a reassuring look, the gavel struck, and the trial officially began. The judge verified the information of both attorneys. I stood up to respond. Plaintiff's attorney. "Martina." Fidel was bent over organizing documents when he heard a familiar voice from across the room. His hand holding the pen abruptly stilled. When he looked up, his gaze happened to collide with Martina's. He never expected to encounter her here. His Adam's apple bobbed before he finally found his voice again. "Counsel for the defense." "Fidel." I was somewhat shocked as well. I never expected the defense attorney in this case to be Fidel. The air seemed to freeze for a moment. I quickly suppressed the turmoil in my eyes and straightened my posture. During the cross-examination, Fidel was the first to question, his tone remaining steady as ever. "Was the audio recording submitted by Ms. Martina made with the consent of the parties involved? According to the rules of civil procedure, evidence, unauthorized private recordings, the defense counsel need not divert the focus." I interrupted him, sliding over the translated copy of foreign case law. The recording clearly shows the defendant taking advantage of the plaintiff's lack of legal knowledge to mislead them. Combined with this cross-jurisdictional analysis on lack of genuine intent by the party, it sufficiently proves the invalidity of this agreement. Fidel, his fingers traced over the legal precedents as he looked up with professional sharpness in his eyes. And how do you explain the intimate photos of the plaintiff with others, along with the ambiguous content in their chat records? Just then, Fidel noticed the smug expression spreading across the face of the man beside him. The girl's face was deathly pale, her body trembling slightly as she looked at me and shook her head desperately. "Ms. Martina, I didn't cheat. He took advantage of me being drunk and unaware, deliberately setting me up with fabricated evidence. Before coming here, I hadn't known about this matter. And for a moment I was caught completely off guard. Just as Fidel was about to explain the probative value of this evidence to the judge, I suddenly spoke up calmly. According to Article 68 of the Civil Procedure Law, evidence must be verified as true before it can be used as the basis for determining facts. These photos were deliberately taken from specific angles. And the chat records show obvious signs of editing. They're clearly malicious fabrications and cannot be admitted as valid evidence." Fidel frowned slightly and countered in a deep voice, "Ms. Martina, dismissing the validity of evidence based solely on subjective judgment seems rather arbitrary, don't you think?" I looked up at him calmly and replied, "It's not subjective judgment, when examining the completeness and relevance of the evidence. These materials clearly contain flaws that cast serious doubt on their credibility." For a moment, the courtroom fell into a brief stalemate, until the presiding judge rapped the gavel and asked solemnly, "Counsel for both sides, do you have any additional arguments regarding the dispute over the evidence's validity?" I met his gaze, word by deliberate word. "I just believe that the law should always uphold its principles, no matter where it shouldn't help the strong oppress the weak." Fidel's expression darkened. "I agree with the plaintiff's counsel, but as a representative attorney, my first duty is to my client." My tone was calm yet carried unshakable conviction. "I am only accountable to justice." With that, I stopped looking at him and prepared to present my final statement to the judge. At that moment, the girl who had been silently enduring suddenly spoke up with a tearful voice, "Ms. Martina, I actually have evidence of him taking advantage of me while I was drunk and sleeping with someone else that night, but I've always been concerned about protecting my reputation, so I didn't dare to bring it out. My ex-husband took advantage of this very weakness to act so arrogantly, but after hearing your words today, you've given me the courage to come forward. I've decided to hand this over to you." A flicker of surprise crossed my eyes as I took the voice recorder from the girl's hand. "Don't worry, your suffering won't be in vain. The law will give you justice." Then, I turned to the presiding judge and said firmly, "Your Honor, the defense submits new evidence." As the evidence played, I clearly heard the recording of the violated girl, in which the man coercing her admitted that her husband had instigated the setup, but I deliberately muted the parts of the girl's humiliation, retaining only the crucial content about the instigation and framing. In the courtroom, my voice was clear and steady as I meticulously pieced together every link of the evidence, presenting an airtight logic that left no room for doubt. Until the judge struck the gavel, "The agreement is invalid, the plaintiff's claim is upheld." The verdict was delivered, the plaintiff had won. Meanwhile, the exchange between Fidel and me when responding to the presiding judge was recorded by spectators and posted online. In an instant, Martina's name topped the trending list within just half an hour. By the time I appeared in court again, the outside of the courthouse was already swarmed by reporters, with microphones thrust forward in a frenzy. "Ms. Martina, we heard you and the defense attorney used to be colleagues at the same law firm. How does it feel to face your former partner in court? Rumor has it you're currently working at a top-tier law firm in the UK. As such an outstanding lawyer, have you considered returning to China to develop your career?" "Ms. Martina, you're a role model for all women. Starting today, I'm officially your fan." Camera flashes kept going off. Before I could process what was happening, Anna, who'd been waiting for me, yanked me into the car. Meanwhile, Fidel, who just exited the courthouse, tried calling out to me but got swarmed by reporters at the steps. Back in the car, Anna was pounding the steering wheel excitedly, her face alight with exhilaration. "Martina, you're absolutely amazing. I could practically worship you." I had just won the lawsuit and was still in a daze, staring at her blankly. "What happened? Why are there suddenly so many reporters surrounding us?" Anna shook her head with a smile and said helplessly, "Silly Martina, don't you realize you've gone viral?" As she spoke, she immediately took out her phone and opened the trending topics. A video of me arguing fiercely in court was going viral. The title read, "Justice as the blade, integrity as the armor. The beautiful lawyer stands unyielding, upholding fairness." In the video, my gaze was resolute, my tone steady and powerful. "I just believe that no matter where you are, The law should hold the line and not help the strong bully the weak. My only responsibility is to justice. Upon closer inspection, the likes and reposts below had already surpassed 1 million. The comments were uniformly filled with praise and support. That's what a warm-hearted legal professional looks like, so impressive. Speaking up for the vulnerable, this sister is as beautiful in heart as she is in appearance. Well done. These 2 sentences strike right at the heart. They're worth everyone's deep reflection. Faced with this sudden surge of attention, I was momentarily at a loss. I just did what any lawyer should do, took my client's case seriously. I never expected a few simple words to cause such a huge reaction. Anna replayed the video several times, let out an exaggerated sigh, and waved her phone around. You have no idea what it felt like munching snacks in the car, then suddenly seeing my best friend trending on social media. By the time I processed it, I saw a crowd of reporters waiting outside the courthouse. I figured they'd ambush you, so I rushed down to get you out. Pretty smooth, right? I smiled and replied along with her words. Yes, as expected of Anna, you've thought of everything. Along the way, Anna kept chattering while driving. If I'd known you'd win so spectacularly, I would have tagged along to court to ride the hype, missed the chance to capture my stunning beauty on camera. I was still scrolling through netizen comments when I suddenly saw a push notification with an interview video of Fidel being stopped at the courthouse entrance. The reporter held up the microphone, pressing relentlessly with questions. Fidel, what are your thoughts on Ms. Martina's court victory? Fidel remained composed, speaking earnestly. In my heart, she has always been this outstanding. A glint of gossip flashed in the reporter's eyes as they pressed further. Sorry to ask a personal question, but are you single? When you see such an exceptional person of the opposite sex, do you ever feel the urge to pursue them? Fidel paused, looked directly at the camera, his voice clear and earnest. I am indeed single at the moment. The person I like is also a lawyer, but due to some misunderstandings, we're currently separated. If she happens to see this interview, I hope she understands my feelings and gives me a chance to explain. These words hit me like a stone cast into a lake. My heart jolted, and I immediately turned off my phone. Beside me, Anna was chattering away, but I couldn't hear a single word, my mind endlessly replaying what Fidel had just said. Fidel, could the person he just mentioned actually be me? This information, it couldn't possibly be about anyone else but me. Fidel never used to express affection so openly before. How could his personality change so much in less than half a year apart? Perhaps it was because of Brianna that he acted this way. I was so upset with the sudden surge of visitors, we couldn't even go shopping anymore. In the end, I could only go home with Anna. Just as we arrived at the apartment complex and got out of the car, I saw Fidel standing at the entrance. I was somewhat shocked. First, I was shocked Fidel would come looking for me. Second, I was stunned that even though he left the courthouse after us, he somehow arrived here before we did. Anna smiled suggestively and went upstairs first. When the 2 of us were alone, Fidel spoke first. Martina, did you see the interview just now? I turned my face away, pretending not to know. What interview? Fidel's eyes flickered with a trace of disappointment. Before he could speak again, the next moment, several young girls recognized me. Ms. Martina. Is that Ms. Martina? We just watched the trial video. You were absolutely stunning in court. We're all your fans. You're even more beautiful in person than in the videos. And your aura is incredible. No wonder you can say such powerful things. I responded politely. Thank you. I just did what I was supposed to do. It's nothing special. Several girls surrounded me asking for autographs and photos. Fidel stood awkwardly to the side. Ms. Martina, you're amazing. My brother is also a lawyer, tall and handsome. Would you like me to introduce you? Fidel could no longer hold back and stepped forward to shield me. Sorry, Ms. Martina is already taken. Before I could react, Fidel grabbed my hand and pulled me deeper into the neighborhood. Behind us, one of the girls recognized him and started discussing with her companions. Wasn't that Ms. Martina's legal opponent Fidel just now? They seemed so well matched. Did he just get jealous? Only when he reached a quiet corner of the alley. With no sound of pursuit behind him, Fidel finally stopped. I watched him panting slightly and suddenly found it rather amusing. I couldn't help but let out a chuckle. Fidel looked puzzled, frowning at me. What are you laughing at? I stopped laughing and looked into his eyes. Go ahead. Didn't you want me to give you a chance to explain? Fidel finally realized that I had seen what he said during the interview. This time, unlike at the airport where he hesitated to speak, he poured out his heart in one go. First of all, Brianna and I did have a past relationship, but I've had no feelings left for her for the past 5 years. I helped her with the lawsuit before, not because of lingering feelings, but out of sympathy for a single mother. She couldn't find a job to support her child, so I let her intern at the law firm to get certified. After helping her secure an assistant position, we completely cut ties. I froze momentarily, surprised to learn Brianna had a child, feeling a twinge of complicated emotions, but I quickly composed myself and said calmly, even if your reasons for helping her were understandable, you still crossed my biggest boundary, staying involved with an ex. Fidel took a deep breath and looked at me with earnest eyes. You're absolutely right, but just like what you said in court today, if I help the strong oppress the weak, do I even deserve to be called a lawyer? Those words left me momentarily speechless. Fidel took a step forward, his voice tinged with urgency. My feelings for her are just like your defense of that plaintiff today. I can't stand by and watch a mother endure domestic violence yet remain trapped in a marriage. Martina, I love you. Maybe I haven't been good at expressing it in the past, but nothing and no one will ever shake my love for you. His words fell with such conviction that they sent a tremor through my heart. Words like these, Fidel never used to say them. I turned my face away, my voice tinged with stubbornness. Then why is your wallpaper the same as Brianna's? Why didn't you say these things before? Why did you get out of the car that day to hold an umbrella for Brianna? Even losing your temper with her, yet always remaining calm and rational with me. Truth be told, these questions stopped mattering to me long ago. With or without you, I can live just fine on my own. Fidel felt a pang in his heart. He finally understood why Martina had suddenly broken up with him and left without a word. Just as I turned to leave, he reached out to stop me, planting a long, deep kiss on my lips. Before I could react, my body froze instantly. When I came to my senses, I bit him hard, but Fidel still didn't let go, instead holding me even tighter. After a long while, Fidel pulled me into his embrace, his arms encircling me, his voice carrying a hint of hoarseness. My feelings for you aren't about rationality, but respect. When I first met you, you were an extremely principled girl. I tried my best to be considerate and accommodating, not letting you feel constrained. I'm also afraid that being too enthusiastic might make you feel pressured. Afraid that if I don't do well you'll leave me, so I've been holding back all this time. Fidel's voice hadn't stopped yet. That wallpaper was taken when we went to the beach together, snapped when you weren't looking. I don't know why Brianna would have an identical one. On the day with the umbrella, she came begging me to take her case. I refused, never expecting she'd follow me and cause that rear-end collision. I got angry because I was afraid the accident might hurt you. Not because she got caught in the rain. You're beautiful and dazzling in my eyes, the person I love most, which is why I refused to vent my temper on you. I froze, my face slightly flushing. I had no idea Fidel where he learned such sweet words. All those answers I desperately sought before were finally being given to me now, but I didn't know how to face it. But in my memory, Fidel was indeed someone who couldn't lie. I gently pushed him away and whispered, "It's too late to say these things now. We've been apart for so long, and I don't have the heart to dwell on the past anymore. I just want to focus on work and life." Fidel refused to let go, looking at me earnestly. "It doesn't matter. I can pursue you again. After all, my feelings for you won't change." I was both angry and annoyed, reaching out to punch his chest hard. "Fidel, how can you be so shameless? I never realized you were like this before." Fidel took the opportunity to grab my hand, smiling as he said, "I've always been this way, you just didn't know until now." He let go of my hand and gave a slight bow, striking a gentlemanly pose. "Let's get to know each other again, Ms. Martina. I'm your admirer, Fidel." When I came to my senses, I was already back at Anna's place. After showering, I lay in bed with countless thoughts swirling in my mind. I didn't accept Fidel's courtship, just said I'd decide based on his performance. During these months abroad, my life has been fulfilling. I've taken on several important cross-border cases, and my skills have greatly improved. I've always understood that love is the icing on the cake, not a lifeline in desperate times. So even alone, I can live a vibrant and fulfilling life. Now that I have to reconsider matters of the heart again, I'm not sure what I should do, especially since my work is still in the UK. There's absolutely no way I would give up Fidel my career in the UK for him, and he doesn't seem like the type to compromise for love either. Even if he were, I wouldn't like such a sacrifice. Two people being together should mean growing together, not making each other abandon their pursuits. Just as these thoughts crossed my mind, my phone suddenly rang with urgent urgency. I picked up the phone, and a fluent British English voice came through. "Hello, Martina, how was your vacation? There are still 10 days left, but you'll be back on time, right?" The familiar voice of my boss came through the phone. I adjusted my tone and replied in English as well. "Great, of course, I'll be back on time. The boss laughed on the other end of the line. Great, we came across the video of your trial back home. Everyone is so proud of you. A warmth spread through my heart as I responded softly. Thank you, see you in 10 days. Just as I hung up, dark clouds gathered outside the window. And a downpour began. I hadn't even had time to turn off my phone when a notification chime rang out. Opening it, I saw it was a friend request. The note attached read, "Give your admirer a chance, how can I show you what I'm made of without any contact info?" I stared at the screen for a long time before finally turning off my phone without giving consent. The weather in Britain is different from back home, perpetually overcast, with the sun rarely making an appearance. Separated by time zones and distance, even the wind and rain fail to synchronize. Since we can't share the same sky, let's not waste each other's time. I will soon return to England, where my work and life await me. Perhaps maintaining the status quo is the best choice. Meanwhile, on the other side, Fidel stared blankly at his phone screen. A long time passed, but there was still no message of verification. He forced himself to work on the documents, but his mind kept wandering every few minutes. He picked up his phone, but the screen remained blank. An hour passed. Martina still hadn't accepted the friend request. 3 hours later, Martina still hadn't accepted the friend request. 5 hours later, as he packed up to leave work, Martina still hadn't made a move. Although the morning's misunderstanding had been cleared up and their relationship had eased considerably, Martina was clearly much less resistant now, so why wouldn't she agree to reconnect their contact information? The more he thought about it, the more agitated he became, until he decided to go to Anna's place one more time to find Martina. Leaving the law firm, Fidel started his car and headed straight for Anna's residential complex. As soon as he reached the unit's entrance, he hurried forward and knocked on the door. Only to see Anna peeking her head out, he smiled and glanced inside. "Anna, where's Martina? Call her out, there's a new restaurant downstairs, and I'm taking you both for a nice meal." Before he could finish, Anna, who was wearing a face mask, raised her brows and shrugged, her tone laced with surprise. "Martina already caught an afternoon flight back to the UK, didn't she tell you?" The words struck like a thunderbolt, and Fidel froze on the spot. "What did you say?" "We were together just this morning, how could she leave just like that?" Before Anna could explain, he pressed urgently, "How long ago did she leave?" Anna took half a step back, startled by his outburst, and quickly replied, "Just an hour ago, her flight took off not long ago." Before the words had fully settled, Fidel had already turned and bolted downstairs, his frantic steps kicking up a gust of wind, on the way to the airport. He floored the accelerator while continuously dialing Martina's number on his phone, but Martina had already blocked him. The receiver only repeated the message, "The number you have dialed cannot be reached at the moment." Upon arriving at the airport, he rushed in breathlessly and immediately grabbed an airport staff member, anxiously asking for help. "Hello, may I ask when is the nearest flight to the UK departing?" The staff member was startled by his urgent demeanor. Pausing for a moment before replying softly, "It should be the 6 p.m. flight, but the cabin doors closed 10 minutes ago." These words completely shattered Fidel, who staggered half a step back, his back pressing against the cold pillar. The airport terminal was still bustling with people, relatives bidding tearful farewells, lovers clinging to each other, reluctant to part. He watched a couple about to separate, standing by the check-in counter, finding it hard to let go. The girl tugged at the boy's sleeve, pouting as she whined, "You have to message me every day and video call me when you're there, and don't get too close to other girls." The boy ruffled her hair and said gently, "Be good, I'll come back to you as soon as I finish the project, 3 months at most." Watching this scene, Fidel felt his heart sink. He suddenly remembered the day 2 years ago when he went on a business trip. Martina came to see him off. It was also raining heavily that day. Martina walked with him all the way under an umbrella. Though she wasn't coquettish like the girl before him now, she had chatted endlessly. "I packed some common cold medicine in your suitcase to prevent temperature-related illness, and there's the beef jerky you love, remember to eat on time." He kept repeating these reminders all the way until they reached the boarding gate, then turned to smile at her. "Martina, are you reluctant to see me go?" Martina finally stopped talking and nodded with red-rimmed eyes. "I'll be away on business for 2 months. We won't see each other for a long time." He also affectionately ruffled her hair and comforted her softly. "Martina, are you reluctant to let me go?" Martina finally stopped talking and nodded with reddened eyes. "We won't be able to see each other for a long time with this 2-month business trip." He also affectionately ruffled her hair and comforted her softly. "Don't worry. I'll call you every day when I'm there, and I'll message you about my schedule so you won't have to worry." Martina sniffled and nodded. For those 2 months afterward, they talked on the phone every night, chatting for hours on end. Sometimes they discussed cases from the day. Other times it was just small talk about the weather and trivial matters back home. Every time, he waited until Martina fell asleep before hanging up, on the day he returned from his business trip. Martina arrived at the airport early to wait for him. At the sight of him, she was visibly delighted, yet instead of stepping forward to embrace him, she stood there with a suppressed smile. In the end, it was he who stepped forward and took her into his arms. Only now did he realize that Martina's love was as deep and restrained as his own, but it was by no means indifference. For 5 years together, every moment they spent together carried a hint of restrained tenderness. He had always thought her reserved nature was simply innate, until this morning when he heard her shout, "Why are you always so calm and rational with me?" Only then did it dawn on him that Martina wanted love that was passionate and straightforward, care that couldn't be hidden, and favoritism that was openly shown. It's all because both of them were slow to warm up and too proud to speak their hearts, leaving their love shrouded in a thin mist all these years. At this thought, he hesitated no longer. He booked the earliest flight to London, England. Time was fleeting. He brought nothing but a phone and the clothes on his back, yet it was the most thrilling journey he had ever embarked upon. Meanwhile, after enduring a grueling flight of over 10 hours, I finally landed in London. Stepping off the plane at 3 a.m., the autumn breeze carried a distinct English chill. Having spent some time back home, the sudden temperature difference felt particularly jarring. I watched a foreign couple huddling together against the biting wind. I was slightly lost in thought. Before heading to the airport, I deleted Fidel's friend request and immediately rushed to the UK. I still had 10 days of vacation left, but after receiving my boss's call, I ended my trip early without hesitation. The reason I didn't delay for even a moment was also because I feared my heart might waver because of Fidel. Looking back now, I'm very glad I made this decision. It's extremely foolish for a woman to abandon her career for a man. As an independent woman of the new era, I would never do such a thing. After leaving the airport, I hailed a taxi and went straight to my apartment. When I got home and finished showering, the exhaustion from the journey washed over me. The curtains weren't fully drawn, and moonlight slipped through the gap, casting a slender band of light on the floor. My mind was teeming with thoughts, my eyelids growing heavier and heavier until I fell into a deep sleep. The next day, Fidel arrived safely in London. After a journey of over 10 hours, stepping off the plane, it was already 7 a.m. local time. There's an 8-hour time difference between the UK and home. If he were still in China right now, it would probably be around 11 p.m. Perhaps Martina chose to disappear without a word again precisely because of the time difference and distance, but this time, he wouldn't let her go so easily. He hailed a taxi and said in somewhat broken English, "Please take me to Pinnacle Law Firm, thank you." Along the way, the retro British red brick buildings flashed by the window as a fine drizzle drifted through the air. He quietly absorbed Martina's lingering presence from her life here over the past few months. Noticing he was Chinese, the driver struck up a friendly conversation. "Sir, is this your first time in London? Are you here for sightseeing?" He smiled, gazing out the window and said softly, "I came to find my love, she works here." The driver raised an eyebrow knowingly. "Crossing borders for love, how romantic," Fidel responded with a smile. As they passed Tiffany's on Regent Street, that familiar shade of blue caught his eye, and a sudden thought flashed through his mind. He tapped the driver's shoulder. "Sorry, could we stop here? I'd like to pop in and buy something." The driver paused for a moment, immediately understood his meaning, and then laughed. "Of course, going crazy for love is worth it once in a while. Hurry up and go." As soon as the words fell, he got out of the car and rushed into the Tiffany store. Walking up to the counter, he took a deep breath and asked, "Hello, do you have the Star Ring series engagement rings?" The saleswoman smiled politely. "Yes, we do. Are you planning to propose? What size do you need?" Without a moment's hesitation, he said firmly, "Yes, number 11, the largest diamond." As early as 3 years ago, he knew Martina had a preference for Tiffany's jewelry, especially the engagement ring from the Star Ring collection. When they were curled up on the sofa browsing magazines together before, Martina had stared at this particular ring design for the longest time. So, he was certain she would love it. In fact, he had long planned to propose to her this year. Which was why he told Brianna he was about to get married when she asked. He had even secretly measured Martina's finger size while she was asleep and noted it down. Soon, the sales assistant presented the ring. "Hello sir, here's the Star Ring series master diamond piece you requested." The dazzling diamond ring lay quietly in the velvet box, and at this moment, a determined light ignited in his eyes. "Please wrap it up for me," tucking the ring into his suit's inner pocket. He got into the car and continued on to the law firm. Meanwhile, on my end, I got up, had breakfast, and headed to the law firm for work, still dressed in a sharp, fitted white suit skirt, radiating confidence as always. I had just arrived at the office when a colleague knocked and entered. "Martina, someone's looking for you downstairs." I froze for a moment, thinking a scheduled client had arrived early, and stood up to smooth my skirt. As I reached the doorway, I bumped into a familiar figure. I stood frozen in place, dazed as if in a dream, unable to believe it. I blinked hard. I was clearly in England now, so how could Fidel be standing there? Instinctively, I wanted to turn and hide, but the person behind me softly called out, "Martina." I finally confirmed I wasn't dreaming. Everything before me was real. Taking a deep breath, I slowly turned around and met those profound eyes. Before I could react, Fidel had already rushed forward and embraced me. His voice was urgent and full of concern, leaving without a word again. "But this time I won't let you go. No matter where you run, I'll chase after you." My heart fluttered in panic as I tried to push him away, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't break free. My eyes reddened with urgency. "Why are you here? Aren't you supposed to be at work? Are you just abandoning your law firm?" He tightened his embrace, yet his voice softened. "What's the point of keeping the firm when my girlfriend has run away? Who would I even earn money for?" I still pushed him away forcefully, my tone stubborn. "Fidel, I don't want us to be like this. I don't like relationships where people sacrifice their careers and aspirations for each other." Fidel just smiled, pulling a velvet ring box from his pocket and kneeling on one knee, gazing tenderly into my eyes. "Flying from China to the UK, over 10,000 kilometers. I thought a lot along the way. I understand your personality. You want a relationship to be a process where both grow better together, not one where either sacrifices reluctantly for the other. But only when you're by my side do I feel truly whole. I'm willing to come to the UK and be with you, to make this our shared home. I want to treat you well for a lifetime. Will you marry me, Martina?" The sudden proposal left me completely stunned. Yet an indescribable wave of emotion surged through me, my heart now pounding wildly in my chest. I didn't know what to say. Colleagues from the law firm gathered around at the commotion, passers-by stopped in their tracks, and everyone couldn't help but cheer. "Marry him. For someone to come all this way to find you, such sincerity is truly precious. Don't keep him waiting too long. Happiness is right before your eyes, you must seize it firmly." I gazed at the man before me. His eyes burning with passion yet brimming with absolute sincerity. He was still wearing the same suit from yesterday, having flown across oceans overnight just to reach me, without even time to change his clothes. The diamond ring in his hand was one I had casually praised when we were browsing through a magazine together. He remembers my preferences, recalls the words I absent-mindedly spoke, and understands the pride and tenderness deep within me. He is even willing to leave behind everything familiar to accompany me in starting anew on foreign soil. The fluttering in my heart could no longer be contained. My eyes welled up with moisture as I nodded gently and extended my hand. "Please guide me well in the future." The entire venue erupted into thunderous cheers. Fidel also leaped up excitedly, pulling me into a tight embrace as if we'd won a great battle. Refusing to let go, I looked at the crowd around me, laughing and applauding, and couldn't help but curve my lips into a smile, the moisture in my eyes mingling with joy. Fidel leaned down toward me, pressing a precious and burning kiss on my forehead. On this drizzly London street, I had finally found my own happiness. Just then, my boss from the law firm hurried over and called out to me. I froze for a moment before pulling away from Fidel's embrace. "Martina, we've all seen the video of that trial you represented domestically. Headquarters has decided to station you back in China as a resident attorney to expand Asian operations. Are you personally willing?" Hearing this news felt like a second surprise landing straight in my heart. I turned my head and glanced at Fidel beside me. He was smiling and nodding at me, the encouragement in his eyes impossible to hide. I took a deep breath, turned to look at my boss, my eyes shining with determination. "I do." The end.